Hello! I've run out of painting ideas, so I thought I would get into my sketchbook today and use my motley collection of Prismacolor Col-Erase pencils to draw in there and hopefully come up with some more ideas for future paintings. Let's get into it! I'm sure you've heard of Col-Erase pencils before, but just in case you haven't, they are erasable coloured pencils. They come in a set of 24 or 12, and I've just bought mine as individual pencils over time. I think I have about 18 of them. They have a firm lead, so they're really easy to sharpen into a fine point. Each pencil has an eraser on the end. They work okay, but I usually prefer to have a separate eraser for these pencils. And there's a decent amount of colours, ranging from lighter to darker. They're so much fun to sketch with, especially because they can be erased, unlike other coloured pencils. And just to demonstrate this, I'll just scribble out some of this purple Col-Erase pencil. Why I didn't choose a darker colour for filming is a mystery to me, but hopefully you can see this well enough. I also have a regular coloured pencil, a Prismacolor Premier, which is wax-based and has a much heavier pigment load, so they are better for colouring. But here's the demonstration of just rubbing them out with a regular eraser. Prismacolor Premier will rub out a little bit, but it's extremely difficult to lift that pencil off, and you can see there's plenty left over, whereas the Col-Erase is much like a graphite pencil and will mostly come off a little bit of staining, but it's just much easier to rub out a Col-Erase pencil. So I flipped through my sketchbook, and this was the last thing I did. I will come back to that eventually, but let's start off with a fresh page spread. For some reason I started on the right hand side here, and I am using a pink pencil because the first picture here is a flamingo. I was just scrolling around trying to get some ideas of something to draw. I've done a lot of painting and drawing lately, as you've seen in previous videos, and I just kind of ran out of steam a little bit, which happens. I mean, it's normal for anyone to have creative slumps where there are not many ideas on the board. And this is usually an indication to me that I need to get back to basics and just grab out some pencils, whether they're graphite or these colourful Col-Erase, and just draw something. I had seen one photo of a flamingo on Pixabay, and then I decided I was going to fill this entire page with flamingos because there were all sorts of great photos there, and I couldn't choose just one. And that led to me deciding that this side of the page is going to be entirely of flamingo drawings. One of my best friends absolutely adores anything related to flamingos, and so I was thinking of her when I was drawing these as well. They are fascinating birds. I love their beaks and that bent shape of them, like a Roman nose. I just think they're fabulous. And they are really fun to draw. There's quite a lot of variety between different flamingos. Some of them are magenta, and then other ones are more of a peachy orange, like this one. I think I liked this photo the best and the colour of it, so I was just basically mixing pink and orange together for my flamingo here. Very sketchy. I wasn't spending a lot of time on these. I just wanted to get some colour down as quickly as possible and focus on shapes of the birds rather than too much detail. I did add a little bit of shading just because I like to do that, but otherwise I probably did each drawing in about 15 minutes or so, something like that. I don't really time myself. It's done when it's done, basically, and I don't need that extra time pressure. If you've ever done a timed drawing, you'll know how stressful it is, and I wanted this to be a relaxing session rather than me getting all worked up over trying to finish something in a very short amount of time. This was about me sparking my creativity again and getting some ideas for future paintings. There is a logical order to these particular videos that I've been doing recently, particularly the one previously, which was painting with the golden heavy body acrylics. I made a bit of a mess of that whole video, but I ended up with some paintings for that. And I did mention that I also want to make a video using the golden open acrylics, which are the slow drying ones, and I could not think of anything to paint with them. So the point of this video was for me to actually come up with some ideas, so then in my next video, hopefully, I can do some actual paintings with those golden acrylics, and you could see the entire process of me coming up with an idea as well. For some videos, I'll go into them knowing exactly what I'm going to draw or paint, and other ones I just have no idea. All I know is that I really want to review the open acrylics, but I didn't want to go into that video with no plan, and so I just decided to give myself a little bit of a break from stressing out over trying to think of ideas. Just grab some pencils, pick a reference photo that appeals to me, and just get drawing. Sometimes I'll even draw objects that are sitting in front of me, so it doesn't have to be from a photo, but I usually choose a photo because I just find those easiest to work with. Heaven forbid I go outside. Although, to be fair, I do sometimes do that as well. But for today, I was just happy sitting in my studio, displaying some photos that I could draw from, and listening to music as well. So I'm just sketching in the background too because it felt like it needed something. I went for blues and purples. This is not meant to be anything that's fully rendered. I just wanted to add some colour on there, and you can see how sketchy this is. But I like how this has turned out, and I don't often draw the same subject multiple times, so it was a good exercise for me. I like this top right one the best, so I decided I was going to draw it again on the other side of the page, filling up the rest of this blank space with that one flamingo. I had not actually planned to do this. I was going to fill both pages with all sorts of sketches, but at this point I felt like I wanted to do a more rendered drawing, and so I'm sketching out that same flamingo up in the top corner, and I'll show you the photo again here. In my first attempt I hadn't got the angle of the beak right, so I just really wanted to draw it again and have another go at getting the beak better aligned with the body. It's actually resting on the flamingo's neck rather than just sitting there in space. And you'll see that the colours are starting to look a lot brighter and darker over here. That's because I'm actually using Prismacolor Premier pencils to colour in my final image. Prismacolor Premier pencils are much softer than the Col-Erase ones, and they have a lot more pigment, so it's easy to achieve a really saturated look with those colours. By comparison, on the right hand side, the Col-Erase pencils are pretty light, so they're not great for colouring, but they are fantastic for drawing, whereas the Prismacolor Premiers are excellent for colouring. Both types of pencils are perfectly compatible with each other, and you can use one to do your outlines and then the other kind to colour in and add all of the detail, which is what I was doing here, because I knew I wasn't going to need to erase anything from now on, so I can just go in with those heavy waxy pencils and not worry about making mistakes. Any mistakes I do make will just have to be blended in with other coloured pencils. The sketchbook paper itself is a mixed media one. It's quite smooth, but you can see there is quite a lot of tooth in there because I am getting some pencil texture going on. That's fine, I just had to add some more layers to it. And this drawing took me quite a long time because I did spend ages adding layers of pencil and blending everything together. At this point I wasn't sure that I was going to use any solvents in this, but you'll see later that I do end up using some pencil blend. That was more for the background because of course I had to colour the background in too. But I am nowhere near done with the actual flamingo yet, so I still had plenty of work to do. I'm using a makeup brush every so often just to take off any crumbs from colouring with the pencils. I have a fairly heavy hand with them, and so I usually make quite a lot of pencil crumbs on the paper, and it's better to use a brush to wipe it off rather than using your hand, which will generally smudge the pigment across the paper. And here we go into the background. I decided I was going to get that going now, and of course I'm using coloured pencils for that too. I should have just used a watercolour background, it would have been so much faster. But I started in with the pencils and I figured I would just keep going. You can see it's very messy at the moment. I'm just trying to get down as much colour as I can, and I'll go back over this and blend it all in a while. But gosh, this took ages. I forget how big this book is. It's an 8 by 8 inch square, and when you're using coloured pencils it takes a long time. But I like to remind myself that not everything needs to be done immediately. Sometimes art takes a long time to do, especially because I decided I wanted to have a fully finished flamingo rather than a sketchy one. I am going to blend all this pencil together with solvent soon, but I found with solvent that you do need to have a decent amount of pencil on the page. If you only have a little bit, it really won't blend it properly. It just kind of sinks into the paper without moving the pencil. So if you add a few layers of pencil on top of each other first and then go in with the solvent, it will blend a lot more easily. And you can see I'm starting to do this with the actual flamingo itself, and then I'll go to the background in a while. I dipped my cotton bud in some solvent and I'm just rubbing it over the pencil to blend it all together and remove any white spots from the paper underneath. Now I'm going to the background, and you can see because I've added a lot of pencil onto it, it does blend out really well. The solvent I'm using in this particular drawing is Zest It Pencil Blend. The one I'm using has an orange scent and it gets really strong, so I would recommend getting their odorless version. I totally will do that next time because the orange smell lingers on the paper for a long time as well, and whew, it stank my whole studio out. The other option you can use is Gamsol Odorless Mineral Spirits. I often use that as well, but the pencil blend was just in the front and that's the first one I grabbed. The Prismacolor Premier pencils are not water soluble, so you have to use something that will dissolve wax and oil. And I'm just touching up a few areas with some more pencil. I decided not to do this all over the background again because it was just going to take too long and I was a bit over it at this point, but I'm just adding a few more layers onto some of the areas that looked a little bit patchy. I think if I was doing this as a separate artwork or something that was commissioned, then I would spend a lot more time adding lots of layers over this. But for my sketchbook, I figured this amount was plenty, and I'll just touch up that one last bit. And here is my page spread all finished. So we have the sketchy Col-Erase pencils on the right-hand side, which are fantastic just to get those ideas out. And then a more rendered piece using the Prismacolor Premiers on this side. And I really like how it's turned out. This was so much fun to do. At the start of the day, I could not have told you that this is what I was going to end up with. So I'm really happy to have this page spread now in my sketchbook. Here's the Zest It pencil blend. I remembered to show it on camera. It's really good, but don't get the smelly one. Oh, it stinks so bad. And I had to leave the book open to air out overnight. I broke a pencil. I hate doing that so much, and Prismacolor Premiers are notorious for breaking easily. They break my heart as well. But I'm going to put this plastic sheet over this pencil drawing because it still feels a bit fragile, and I'm going to flip to a new page. I'm switching back to my Col-Erase pencils because the whole point of this video today was to do sketches in my book rather than fully rendered pieces, but I couldn't help myself with that flamingo. It had to be done in my good pencils. The rest of these are just the Col-Erase sketches, and I will probably come back to some of these for paintings later on. I was looking through my reference photo folder that I've saved from Facebook, Free Reference Photos for Artists, I think it's called. And there is a wealth of wonderful reference photos in that group. It is a private group, so you do have to apply to join, but you just have to answer a few questions, I think, and then there are loads of pictures to choose from. You can even upload your own photos for other people to use. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, I'll just sit there on the Facebook page and Pixabay, places like that, and just scroll through pictures, picking out ones that appeal to me, saving them to my computer or just making some online folders to put them in, and then I go back when I've got no ideas and find something that I want to paint. This next one is completely out of focus. I do apologize for that. It decided to focus on my hand. I really hate it when that happens. There's nothing I can do about it because I can't retake it. Oh dear. It's either get it right first time or not at all. I'm pretty sure this is the photo reference that I used. I've got quite a lot of these hair photos by Debbie Ann Photography. She has some amazing shots, and I painted this one a few years ago. I love this photo so much. For this particular page spread, I didn't have any specific theme in mind other than animals in general, so I'm just drawing different animals. They're not in proportion with each other because that's either a really small cat or a very large hare. The goal was just to fill as much page as possible. And please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more videos of me just doing sketches like this, which may or may not end up as finished artworks. This kind of feels more behind the scenes, focusing more on the art process rather than necessarily the final outcome, because I guess this is what a lot of artists do most of the time, sketching and scribbling and jotting down ideas and little pictures, things which may end up being a finished piece and other times they don't really go anywhere. And this is, after all, a sketchbook, so I'm actually sketching in it. I don't think I've ever drawn a lemur before. It was quite challenging because it has a small head and a large body, at least in the angle of this particular photo. It has that feel of foreshortening, which is always quite a challenge to draw, and I do like to practice that when I can. Foreshortening is just basically a change in perspective, so some part looks really close and then other parts look further away and therefore smaller. Or do they just normally have a small head and a big body? I'm going to have to do some more research on lemurs. Anyway, this particular drawing was very scribbly and I was battling with the edge of the paper there in that fold. And I did actually go in with a black Prismacolor Premier because the black Col-Erase pencil is pretty weak and it's probably my least favourite of the set. One of my favourite Col-Erase pencils is the indigo colour, and I also really love the orange, which I coloured in that cat with on the left hand side. And I've got one last picture here because I had a bit of space left. Speaking of foreshortening, oh my goodness, this donkey was quite a challenge to draw, but it was really fun, and this is one of my favourite pictures as well. I just love its funny expression. Spending the day doing these sketches was a really great idea because I felt a lot more creative afterwards and like I had a few more ideas of things that I can do for future paintings. This sort of sketching I tend to do off camera and not really film it, but I just thought it would be interesting to share this with you and see what I could come up with because I literally had no ideas at all. I think I would like to make some more videos like this if you're interested too, because it is just really fun sketching, and I hope I've inspired you to do some sketching as well. Just get any pencils you have and get drawing in a sketchbook or loose paper. Whatever you have in your stash is perfectly fine. But I will link the supplies I've used in the description below in case you're interested in getting some Col-Erase pencils for yourself. For a while there, I think they were rumoured to be discontinued, but as far as I know they haven't been yet, so they're still around. You can buy 12 or 24 sets on Amazon, and if you're in Australia, I think they're also available from the Officeworks website, maybe some Officeworks themselves, and also the art shop, which is in Melbourne. I don't know what it is lately, I cannot leave a background blank, so I'm just going in around my pictures with a paint pen, and I'm also feeling the colour yellow a lot lately. It's just a bright, happy colour, and I thought that I would colour the left-hand side with the yellow pen, and then I will choose a different colour for the right-hand side shortly. I really like adding acrylic paint pen colours around pencil drawings like this. Just having a solid block of colour makes the page look a lot more interesting, I think, rather than leaving it plain. I thought I would go with a light green for the other side rather than everything being bright yellow, just to break it up a little bit, and I think yellow and green go nicely together. Colouring the background like this just makes it feel like the whole page spread is finished, and it just joins the two pages together, making it into one cohesive spread. If you don't want to colour the whole page, you can just add a small geometric shape behind the drawing, like a square or a circle. And this is the finished page spread. I think the cat's actually my favourite now I'm looking back at these, but I like them all. I think they turned out pretty well, and I really love that scribbly pencil on the lemur as well, rather than something that's too neat, which is what I tend to do. I wanted scribbly sketches today. And I feel like this was a very successful session. But here's an annoying thing. The plastic protector sheet reacted with the pencil blend solvent that was in my coloured pencil drawing, and it's made it all bent. I did actually manage to get that straight over time after putting some heavy books on it, but what a pain that was. Never mind, I'm really happy with the 2-page spreads I achieved today, all of the sketches, the pleasure I had in drawing them, and also the ideas that came to me while I was doing this whole exercise. I was still getting mad over this stupid sheet, so I'm just going to put it in the back of the book and it will flatten out eventually. That was just such a weird thing. I didn't even think of that. Anyway, there's another couple of page spreads done in this huge sketchbook, and I really enjoyed the Col-Erase pencils. I'll have to keep these nearby so that I can use them again. I keep them in this pencil case and I put it in a drawer and usually forget that they're in there, so I'll put them somewhere more convenient for future use. But that's everything I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd really appreciate a thumbs up if you did. You might want to subscribe for more videos, and I'll put another couple of sketchbook videos up here for you to watch. I hope you're having a fantastic arty day, and I'll see you all again really soon in my next video. Swatch you later. Bye!